Welcome back. And if you're new here, I'm Tanner. This is the Tanner Terrarium. By the end of this video, you'll know how to take care of your Alocasia Frydek. Here's the mother plant. This is the only corm that I kept when I first got the plant. It now has 4 leaves and is pushing out a 5th. This is the light that I use for my Alocasia Frydeks. I do a over-the-top light. I definitely recommend a strong, high-quality grow light like this one for your Alocasia Frydeks because they're kind of temperamental for light. Obviously, you don't want direct sunlight, harsh sunlight. You want bright, indirect light. If you can get that inside of your home, more power to you. I cannot, so I have to use high quality grow lights like these. As you can see, it's quite bright and it dims and brightens quite bright. I use it at its brightest setting, covering a large area. I have it roughly a foot above the tallest plant, and it has been covering 5 plants just fine, growing them, popping leaves out almost every week, probably every 2 weeks. Growth really comes down to proper husbandry and good light, as well as food. You have to feed the plant as well, which we'll get into. This light will be linked in the description down below. I don't get any money or anything from you getting this light. I just highly recommend this light over some others. So this light comes with a stand and this flexible gooseneck head, but also it has holes here on either corner, and it comes with mounting wire so you can mount it to the ceiling. I would recommend other lights like the ones I have on this shelf back here if you're doing shelving lights, just because this is going to be kind of expensive if you do this per shelf and they're not chained. So you'd have to have a plug per light, which not very practical whatsoever. So I'll put these lights down here in the description as well. I actually have 2 different sets of lights here. Highly recommend both of these. I have both of them because I was trying them both out and no complaints on either of them. So they're both equally good in my opinion for shelf lighting. The camera will pick it up. No, it won't. Cool white, warm white, UV, and red LEDs in this light. So this is undoubtedly full spectrum. The fact that it has UV LEDs on it, apparently it's really helpful for plants. But clearly these Alocasia Frydeks love it. Like I said, I went from having no Alocasia experience whatsoever to watching a Sydney plant guy video, and on his Alocasia Frydek that he put in sphagnum, semi-hydro. I watched one other video on somebody who put theirs in pon. I can't remember her name at the moment. I'll put her name right here because I'll look it up when I edit this. Moving on to plant nutrients. Super Thrive comes highly recommended by a lot of people. It basically prevents the shock, or not prevents, but sort of alleviate the shock of transferring a plant from soil to hydroponics. Every single one of those roots you saw on those plants earlier are all new water roots. Those are not the original roots from the soil. The roots from the soil likely were the mush, and if I didn't show, I'll show right now. The mushy roots you saw were likely the soil roots. Maybe could have been the water roots if the water was too high, but it's unlikely because of the other ones that had water coming, or had roots coming out of the bottom of the pots in the water reservoirs. Those are water roots. Those aren't rotting. Those are staying in the water the whole time. So it's likely the mush you saw earlier was soil roots turned to mush because they couldn't cut it. So this Super Thrive helps plants adjust to semi-hydro pretty quickly from soil, and prevents your plant from dying and not being able to make water roots in time. Once your plant has water roots, you're going to want to feed it. You're not going to want to feed it before. You want to use that Super Thrive as recommended to create the water roots in your water. That's it. So just plain water, dechlorinated with the Super Thrive and a little bit of the Super Thrive. But once your plants have roots, you got to feed the plant if you want growth, like I've been getting, where I have 7 of those plants now, and I only got 1 6 months ago. So this Flora Grow, it is a hydroponics fertilizer. In my opinion, it's one of the best ones for the price. It is a 2-1-6 hydroponics fertilizer, and when used as directed, so I use the general purpose application. So I use the general purpose mild vegetative by liters. You can do teaspoons per gallon too, but I don't like teaspoon measurements. I like milliliters. I just do about a milliliter per liter. These guys aren't super heavy feeders. In fact, I personally feed mine very lightly just to prevent any sort of over-fertilization, yellowing, shock to the plant, stinky water in the water reservoir, algae, because all of my nursery containers are clear, so I don't want there to be a ton of algae growing in there. I put my hydroponics grow media, the pond, the lava rock, I set it into the water reservoir. So a lot of people do the wicking technique, perfectly fine, just a little more complicated in my opinion. You have to have either pots made with the wick in mind, which is perfectly fine. I have, this is one here, trying to find one I can just grab. This pot is made with wicking in mind. You can see there at the bottom, there's the holes, and this is the wick right here. And then water would go down here in this reservoir. For the alocasias, this reservoir is a little too small for the size of the pot itself, at least. So I would want something with a much larger reservoir. So if you want to go with the wicking technique, 100% think you can. I just simply didn't have the pots or the need to go out of my way to buy the pots. I had nursery pots. I had cups to use as reservoirs. Simply didn't need it. I replace the water in mine almost weekly. Usually it's every 2 weeks, just so they don't sit in stagnant water. Refertilize every time I replace the water. It's been putting out new leaves like crazy, big, variegated leaves. That's it for nutrients and nutrients delivery. Different types of semi-hydroponic growing media. What I use is pon, which is a mixture of very porous rocks. I also throw leca in mine just as sort of like a filler. The pon's it's not expensive, but it's not cheap either. And the leca's kind of cheap. Supplement volume in my pon with leca. And the leca works really good too. I also use sphagnum moss. So for my corms, I sprout my corms in sphagnum moss. I've only sprouted 2 corms so far, but both of them have been successful. You see one of the ones I have, I gave the other one to a good friend of mine who I am getting into plants, and he has a YouTube channel as well, Chino Reps. I talked about him in my first video. Great guy. I gave him one of those corms, and he's taken fantastic care of it. It's already on its 3rd or 4th leaf, just like mine. And both those corms are in sphagnum moss. I haven't quite decided if I'm going to transfer those plants from sphagnum moss to pon eventually. I might keep those in sphagnum and maybe run a little experiment, see if the sphagnum does better than the pon or the pon does better than the sphagnum. I know for certain that the pon will be a lot easier to get in there and harvest corms out of. The sphagnum moss will not fall off the roots like that pon did. Thank you for watching. I'm Tanner. This is Fika. Let me know what you thought of the video down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.